Hello, loves. This is take number 5,006,000 whatever. um, my words aren't working today, and so but I'm gonna roll with this and do the best I can with what diminished capacity I have. This is your full moon reading for May 15th, 16th, which is the full moon in Scorpio. There was an eclipse last night, actually, that I wasn't able to see because BC is in perpetual purgatory of rain and darkness. So, yeah, it's been gloomy here. Like, there's just no sign of spring. It's hard to, it's strange. I haven't planted my garden or anything. Did I introduce myself? I'm Carrie. If we haven't met before, from Apothecary Tarot. I'm not usually quite this scatterbrained, but I'm doing my best. So we're going to do a reading for this next lunar cycle from this full moon to the next, and see what would be helpful for us to know for that time. And I think that's all I was going to say. Oh, Mercury went retrograde. That's the other thing on the 10th. And that just means that for some people, myself clearly, there can be like tech issues and, communication misunderstandings, things like that. I'm not an astrologer, so I'm going to leave any deeper discussion about that for someone who knows what they're talking about. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of that reflection for you. Okay, first card, where we find ourselves in May. Eight of Cups reversed. So I'll show you upright first. So Eight of Cups in general is about, cups are water. There are emotional lives, our love, our relationships, our intuition, our dreams, all the things that kind of can make us feel nostalgic, sometimes melancholy. And Eight of Cups in particular is about moving away from something because we really... It's usually something, this is what I mean, trying to talk today, oh my gosh. It's about moving away from something that's not bad, but we have enough faith that there's something better, that we're willing to take a risk. So, as one example, it could be, a relationship that you're in that's strong, there's good communication, but for a long time it's just been just okay, and it's sometimes even good. But something inside of us is pulling us to see something better. It could be the career that we've chosen. It could be where we're living, and we just get this really strong sense that I want to know what it's like to live somewhere else. And so it's this moving away from something that we've invested quite a bit of ourselves into, not because we're not, grateful for whatever that is, and not because we don't feel that we've, that there's potential there, but there's just something that's telling us that there's something more, that we're willing to take a risk on that, to, kind of roll the dice on ourselves and see what else might be waiting out there for us. So in reverse, it could be that we're resisting that. It could be that there's somewhere, sorry, there's a spot on my glasses, that there's somewhere that we really have a sense that we're just not, we're stuck, we're stagnant, we're willing to see something new. And when it comes to a relationship, it doesn't necessarily mean leaving that relationship. It could mean, changing the way we look at what is working and what's not working. Sometimes it's just like really focusing in on the little things that are just wonderful about that, to kind of rekindle that love and that excitement about that relationship. It could mean all kinds of different ways that you can explore. So it doesn't necessarily mean ending one thing, but it definitely means changing something substantially in order to make it better. Depending on what your belief system is and that kind of thing, for some people it could be polyamory, it could be, opening themselves to new possibilities, but it usually does require closing the door on something in order to do that. So it's not a risk-free kind of thing. It is taking a bit of a bold move in a new direction. And there can be a little bit of grief there, but it's, if you look at this card, in the distance, she's walking towards what could be a sunrise, sunset. Sorry, my camera's not. But it does require kind of a leap of faith, a step in one direction without necessarily knowing what we're walking towards. And eights can tend to move quite quickly once they've been put into action. So because it was reversed, just pay attention to anything that you're really clinging to because it's familiar, anything you're clinging to because you know it, or you've put a lot of time and effort into it, invested your heart in it, whatever it is, and just, allow yourself to kind of daydream and imagine what else we might want to experience. Next card is challenges or blockages for us, something in our path. Yes. Okay. So this makes perfect sense. So there's these two together. It's absolutely moving away from something that's stagnant or that just does not excite you anymore. Four of Cups is literally the card of apathy, of, fours are foundational, so they feel good. They're a good way to, establish a sense of security and safety, but because of that, we can tend to get stuck there because of that sort of, feeling of being held and supported. It's a really good place to rest. It's important that we spend time in the fours, because the alternative is just like chaos all the time, or like, always having our nervous systems activated, whereas the fours give us a chance to catch our breath, take a break, but especially with it crossing the Eight of Cups, be willing to move on, and it might not ever feel like it's time. It's one of those things that, sometimes it's nice if we can wait and have the universe kind of yell at us when it's time to move on. It probably won't happen in this situation. It's more of that internal nudge and something that's been kind of trying to get your attention for a while. So if there's somewhere in your life that you're emotionally stagnant, just don't even really notice what's happening around you. It's kind of like, this is a very benign example, but like if you haven't moved your furniture around for a long time, and you haven't really done any deep cleaning, but someone's going to come over who's either never seen your house before or hasn't been there in a long time, all of a sudden you notice things, you're like, Jesus, like, maybe this is just me. I don't dust, like, I'm looking around like, God, I live like a savage. It's kind of like that, but in our emotional realm, like, all of a sudden we're just like, God, like, I can't stay in this sort of stasis indefinitely. So yeah, that's big energy. So because it's a full moon, it's a good time to look at like what isn't serving us anymore. Where can we kind of step out of our comfort zones? Where can we be a little bit brave with our emotions? So that's kind of that overall sense there. And then our meditation card, I kept this short, just 3 cards, because I know with my lack of articulation, I will probably stumble through many recordings. So our meditation card is Eight of Wands reversed. Oh my God, this is such a strange, I'm not surprised, but so 8's on either side. We've got like, and they're both reversed. So where this motion would be normally kind of come naturally, especially with Eight of Wands. So Wands are fire energy, and they're all the things that we really care about, we're passionate about, that excite us, that are, it can be sex, it can be social justice, it can be things that really light us up, that we care most about. And Eight of Wands is almost like a forest fire that's taken off usually, but it's in reverse. So there's like this is all speaking to something that's really stuck, something that's just not budging. But when we can identify it, and when we can have the courage to, I'm not a mechanical, I'm thinking like open the lever. Good Lord, thank you for bearing with me if you've made it this long. So both of these 8s, which are normally indicating like movement and, opportunity, they're both blocked for whatever reason. And in the middle of that, we've got the Four of Cups. So somewhere that we've become apathetic, stop seeing, whether it's a person, a situation, what we want to do with ourselves, we have to look at that, and we have to be honest in order for these to open up. And it's, the 8s can really help propel us on our journey. They have this capacity to kind of like, if you have a child who's very hesitant, which I do, sometimes you have to, not physically, but like gently kind of nudge them to try new things that they're going to love. And so it's kind of that energy that we have to have with ourselves, that like, yes, it's a bit scary to try this thing, or it's a bit scary to reach out to this person, or, it's a bit scary to, put myself out there. But there's really important like things, like really exciting things between Cups and Wands. We can think about too with both of those elements on either side, like water and fire are opposites, and it can go one of two ways. We can pour water on fire and put it out, which is what happens if we get stuck in Four of Cups for too long. It's literally pouring water on a fire, putting it out. Or if we utilize them directly, or if we utilize them effectively, we get steam, we get motion, we get things happening, we get energy, movement. And so that's an important theme for this month, I think. I feel like I want to pull one more. I'm just going to lay them out and see which one they're face down, but I feel like there's something else. It's this one. Five of Swords reversed. So there's a couple things with this card that could factor into this. Swords are air energy, and they're everything in our mind. There are, our logic, the way we perceive the world, the way we communicate with others, kind of our filter through everything that we see is filtered through our swords energy. And the Five of Swords in general is this kind of necessary disruption. All fives are. In particular, I always feel like I want to mention, because this card, when it comes up in readings for, myself and for others, there's a huge percent of the time there's a narcissist involved or somebody with narcissistic tendencies. So even though, and that can be ourselves too, even though I don't like to ever think of the cards as being someone outside of the person they're intended for, I think it's important to mention that with this one, because I've always trusted that, and almost every time someone will say, yes, absolutely, this is something that's happening. The overall theme of the card has to do a little bit more with an imbalance of power, with someone holding all the cards, an unfair fight, and again it was reversed. So this could be something in the past that's keeping us tethered to something comfortable now. So if in the past you've either literally been, hurt by a narcissist, or had a family member that had those tendencies, and that's, if you're not familiar with narcissism, it's kind of like an overall, it's a complicated thing, but it has a lot to do with like a lack of empathy or being able to imagine things from other people's perspective. So so this imbalance of power, or this kind of unfair fight that may have happened in the past, may be contributing to why we're afraid to kind of open up and be vulnerable right now. But we're being asked to try anyways. We're being asked to acknowledge that, yes, I have this lesson in my back pocket. I know that this has happened to me before, but I can't spend the rest of my life not trying some new things or not being vulnerable because of this situation. So, there will be some courage required here, but there's also really great things waiting, like Eight of Cups, Eight of Wands. There's these lovely things that are kind of, they're almost like witnessing us, and they're ready for us when we can take action on them, but it will require that sort of step out of where we're comfortable. I'm going to leave it at that, because I think if I try to over-explain it, it's just going to get more confusing. I'm sorry I was not able to speak. Oh my gosh. I hope that this full moon is finding you a lot more coherent than it is me, but I'm going to leave it at that and wish you all so well. I do have a course I'm running in June. I usually only do it once a year in the fall, but I felt really called to run Embracing the Shadows in June. So it's a shadow work and tarot course. We use 10 of the cards of the tarot that are kind of routinely seen as, challenging, dark, cursed, all of that, but we use them as prompts for healing. So it's a really good, you don't have to have tarot knowledge at all of the prompts, and there's a very thorough description of shadow work and how you can integrate it. So I'll make sure you have links for that. And I wish you well. That this is, a bit of uncomfortable energy to move through, but allow yourself to grieve anything that's passing, and to be willing to accept things that are coming in, because there are great things conspiring for us. All right, take care. Lots of love. Bye for now.